I was just sitting around the house tonight with my dog. I felt like I should be doing something important, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. Haha, just kidding. I don't have a dog. Earlier in today's show, we made a video talking about Dallas Stars forward Jason Robertson and the idea that he could get offer sheeted by Kyle Dubas and the Pittsburgh Penguins. Now, that was a really big conversation. I recorded that video last night. But it turns out everybody's talking about Jason Robertson because of a different reason today. You see, we had ourselves the Olympic rosters announced. Team Sweden, Team Finland, and most importantly, Team USA all went out there and revealed their squads. And for the most part, I don't really want to talk about Team Sweden, Team Finland. These teams are pretty by the books. We weren't really expecting any changes compared to what we actually got. I mean, if you're a Vancouver Canucks fan and you tune into this channel, hey, it's cool. Elias Pettersson and Kevin Lankinen made their respective Olympic teams. If you're a Habs fan, nice to see guys like Oliver Kapanen making Team Finland. It's a pretty interesting set of names, but I don't think the rosters for Finland and Sweden are as divisive as the rosters we have seen for Team USA. Let's go out there and read the names that USA decided to include on their roster, and then we'll talk about the names that they missed. Starting out with the forward core. Take a look at this. On Team USA, the forwards go as follows. You have Matt Boldy, Kyle Connor, Jack Eichel, Jake Gensel, Jack Hughes, Clayton Keller, Dylan Larkin, Austin Matthews, JT Miller, Tage Thompson, Brady Tkachuk, Matthew Tkachuk, Vincent Trocheck, and for some reason I missed Brock Nelson's name. Brock Nelson made the Olympic team. Okay, I get it. He's a center. And then you go over to the defensemen and the goaltenders over here. Brock Faber, Noah Hannafin, Quinn Hughes, Seth Jones, Charlie McAvoy, Jake Sanderson, Jacob Slavin, and Zach Werenski, followed up by Connor Hellebuck, Jake Ottinger, and Jeremy Swayman in net. Now, here's the thing about Team USA. If the team decided to take just the top point scorers, this team would look a lot different. You wouldn't have some of these names being tossed into the fray. I doubt that a Seth Jones makes the Team USA squad if, let's just say, it was folks on Twitter deciding to make the team. I doubt that guys like even Brock Faber make the Olympic team. Noah Hannafin make the Olympic team if you were just building off of whom it is the fans thought would make the squad. There's a tweet posted by Frank Saravalli that goes over the notable USA omissions. Cole Caufield wasn't selected. Neither was Matthew Nyes, Chris Kreider, Jason Robertson, who is the big one, Alex Tuck, John Carlson, Adam Fox, Lane Hutson, and Jackson Lacombe. Not to mention Thatcher Demko, which, look, I know a lot of Canucks fans might be pissy that Demko didn't go, but let's be real. The other three guys, they're all more reliable than him at this point. They've all been more healthy than Demko at this point, so I can understand why Demko didn't go. But some of these other names, I mean, the biggest one I would absolutely say is Jason Robertson, followed up by Adam Fox, and then you have Cole Caufield. Alex DeBrincat isn't on the roster either, so yeah, there you go. Frank Saravalli, he's even snubbing the guys that are getting snubbed on his Twitter post over here. Brock Nelson and Trocheck over Cole Caufield, Jason Robertson, Tuck, and Nyes. Sure, NHL Watcher says. I guess it really goes to show you how much Team USA is placing emphasis on centers and how on the wings they want certain kinds of guys. You see, the problem with Team USA is that there has been the same problem that we have seen for years, and we have seen this even going as far back to 2016 when Phil Kessel was out there and talking about Team USA not selecting him for their, I think it was a World Championships team back in the day. Sitting around tonight with my dog, felt like I should be doing something important, but I couldn't put my finger on it. These are the same issues that Team USA has had for Olympic Games spanning back to the 80s, and there was a really good article posted about this on snapshotshockey.com by Sean Shapiro. Obviously, Sean is a Dallas Stars journalist and beat reporter, and because he's a Stars guy, he went out there and made this piece about how Jason Robertson never really had a chance to make Team USA. Now, I'll leave a link in the description to this article, but essentially the main thesis of this piece is that Team USA has a certain identity that they want on their hockey teams. They build these teams with a specific archetype of player in mind for every role. They don't just go out there and take the guys with the most points. They go out there and take some of the guys with the most points, and then they take some of the guys who are the best agitators on the wings. They take some of the guys who are more defensively responsible, and they take some of the guys that are rough and tough. They diversify their lineup in a way where they just don't go after the top scorers. They go after the top everything kinds of guys, and that includes names like JT Miller, names like Vinny Trocheck, names like Brock Nelson, names like the Tkachuk brothers, which I guess you can say they should be on the team. They're good enough point scorers to justify it, but when you leave off names like DeBrincat, you leave off Cole Caufield, you leave off Matthew Nyes even, you leave off Adam Fox on D, this is where we start to get into what are you doing territory, and especially for Jason Robertson, whom, as Shapiro goes out there and writes about here, he was the second NHL player with 45 goals for the calendar year, and the most amongst Americans. Robertson is a quirky player, Shapiro talks about. He's a goal scorer, but the rest of his game gets overly painted in one direction. For the anti-Robertson camp, which includes Bill Guerin, there's not enough checking and defensive details in his game. He's a one-trick pony, as one NHL executive told him, for an Olympic squad that requires stallions, not ponies. For the pro-Robertson camp, he's a very good defensive player. Analytically speaking, Robertson grades well as someone that can play in all situations. The reality lies somewhere in the middle. He's a middling defensive player, but more than good enough to be one of the top 6 American forwards, because a good offense is also a pretty damn good defense. Now, if you scroll down over here, reputation, right or wrong, matters, and once you've got one, it's hard to ever beat the charges that you're saddled with. This is true in all facets of life. Obviously, in this case, an Olympic hockey roster is just providing us a case study. The article then says that USA Hockey's crowning moment was back in 1980, and how that set an ethos that a team doesn't need the best players, but rather the right ones. 45 years and 0 Olympic golds later, Team USA still overly embraces the underdog mentality and belief that when building an Olympic team, roles are the most important thing. On paper, Team USA should be the second best team going into the Olympics, maybe the best if you consider the goaltending discrepancies between them and Canada. It's okay to be one of the favorites. It's okay to act like it, and it is okay to build a team where, based purely on depth, you should control possession. But that's not how these teams are built. They're built by NHL ethos and built in the Olympic spirit of 1980. USA Hockey took so many lessons from their team that won in 1980, but seems to have forgotten now, as a hockey world power, you are also allowed to take lessons from the Soviet team that won every other Olympic gold between 1964 and 1988. Essentially saying that, what's the harm in taking just the best players? Now, we are looking at Jason Robertson as one of the biggest snubs. Years after we saw Phil Kessel get snubbed for Justin Abdelkader on Team USA. Yeah, you remember that? That was a decade ago. That was a long time ago, and Team USA has still not shaken off that sort of team-building bias. And that's really what it is. It's bias. Because Jason Robertson, as we had highlighted in today's video earlier in the show, he is one of the best goal scorers in the league at this stage. The guy is on pace for well over a point per game, and while he may not necessarily be a Mikko Rantanen-esque point producer, because Rantanen is way over a point per game, he's got like 56 points this year, Robertson is still on pace for 96 points and 48 goals. What more does a guy need to do to be included on the Olympic roster? You could say the same thing about DeBrincat, you can say the same thing about Caufield, and Lane Hutson. With that in mind, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. whether or not you think Team USA has a culture problem, and do you think this is hurting the way they're building their hockey teams. Based off of this roster right here, who would you rather have? Which players would you replace, and which ones do you think were undeserving to make the list? If you're advocating for a DeBrincat or a Robertson or a Caufield, who among these forwards would you leave off of the list? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.